We turn not older with years, but newer every day. It's a quote from Emily Dickinson. Let us pray. Be with us today, Spirit, as we come together in this sacred space to share our love with each other. We ask for our guides, our angels, and our ancestors to gather close to us so that we may feel and know their presence, love, and support. We ask for the higher master teachers to grant us wisdom and insight, and we call you in using the prayer that the Master Jesus taught us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Rose. I'm so glad to be here with you today on this very hot morning. But at least we have air conditioning. And we have each other. So, you know, we're doing pretty good, I think, for this morning. So, I noticed today, and I didn't notice this until I had already chosen what I was going to talk about today, but all the jokes and things that Laura has in the bulletin today and the song we just heard are about books and about learning. And so I thought it was interesting that Spirit had me talk about something that's a little similar. So I was reading online, as I usually do, a bunch of articles and essays and things, and I discovered one by a man who is a professor of education in Pennsylvania, and he's now retired from his job as a professor of education. But he has written over 100 nonfiction books. Most of them, or a lot of them, include things about education and educating people. But then he also has some that are all kinds of different kinds of things that include things like marine biology, that include things like ancient trees, dinosaurs, baseball, American history, and Mother Goose. So I was fascinated by the idea that this gentleman has written so many books and on so many different topics. So I started to read one of his articles, and I thought it was filled with some wisdom that I thought I would share with you today. So his name is Anthony D. Fredericks, a professor emeritus of education at York College in Pennsylvania. So he talks about, in this article, he spent over 3 decades as a professor, worked with more than 100 schools across the North America as a consultant. So he has a lot of, life wisdom, as well as, not everyday wisdom, but, knowledge to share with people. And he said that one of the reasons, he's 78 now, and one of the reasons that he believes that he is still sharp in his mind, that he still feels like he's, doing well in that department, as I'm not sure I am. But he says that one of the secrets to staying sharp is very simple, and it is that he is constantly curious. And I thought, oh, that's a wonderful sort of idea, to be constantly curious about things. And he tells us that the brain's chemistry actually changes when we're curious about something. It sharpens our intellectual power, and it keeps us mentally active. So he shared with everyone who was reading, and I'll share with you, his 4 hard rules for keeping his brain sharp and quick. So his first rule is, I embrace my ignorance, which I thought was, again, very telling about this person. I mean, you've written all these books about so many different subjects, and yet you're evolved enough to recognize that you're still ignorant. And we all are. We all still have ignorance. And we all have things that we don't know and things that we could learn. But he says to embrace that. He says there's a common belief that knowledge is the key to success. But growing research actually suggests that some of the most successful people embrace their own ignorance. And they understand that there's more to learn about the world, and they don't let that impede any progress that they have. It actually galvanizes them to do more. Knowing what we don't know can be a powerful mindset that sparks growth and creativity. And I thought that was very interesting insight. So he says how to do this. How do you do that? What do you do to maintain that, or to do that more often? And he says once or twice a week, you should select a topic that you don't know anything about. And it should be something that is not related in any way to your job or your background or your hobbies or any of the things that you do or talk about or experience on a regular basis. So it could be something like, cave paintings in the Neanderthal world. Or it could be something like World War II fighter planes. It could be something, for me, it would have to be something like, I don't even know what it would be for me. I actually just did do this because I was thinking about this. I had a get together with my friends over the weekend, and my one friend was giving another friend a book back that she had borrowed. And I said, what book is that? And it's a book about women in the fashion industry in New York. And I know nothing about the fashion industry other than watching Project Runway every now and then because I like to see how they make things. So I thought, I want to read that book because I don't know anything about the fashion industry. So I borrowed it, and it's now on my nightstand so that I can read it. And that's the sort of thing that I'm talking about, and that he's talking about, is the idea of picking something that doesn't have anything to do with anything that you know much about. And he says that you should spend 5 to 10 minutes learning all you can about that topic. Okay. You can write down 3 interesting facts, and that's a small and powerful way to keep your brain exercised. So I haven't written down any small facts yet about the fashion industry, except that Heidi Klum is back on Project Runway. And that's all I know. But I haven't done that yet, but I intend to read that and see what it's all about. He says his second hard rule is to practice divergent thinking. Now, I had no idea what divergent thinking was. Okay, so again, I'm very excited to learn something that I don't know. He says that many of us get trapped in an endless cycle of what he calls convergent thinking, or always looking for the quote-unquote right answers. So that's convergent thinking, looking for the right answers. But he says he spent most of his entire career as an educator, and he can tell you that most schools train us to focus on facts, like what's the capital of Pennsylvania, rather than creative answers, like where do you think the capital of Pennsylvania should be? So that second question, where do you think the capital should be, that's a divergent question. It's also called an open-ended question, which once he explained that, I understood that, because in tarot, as a tarot reader, and actually as a medium, I always ask would ask my clients to ask open-ended questions, because open-ended questions like, what do I need to know, are going to give you a whole lot more information than asking, should I go to the store tomorrow? Okay, that's only going to give you information about that one subject that you asked about. But if you ask something broader, what do I need to be doing to enhance my creative potential, you're going to get a much better answer, a deeper answer, an answer that gives you a lot more to think about and a lot more to work on than just a yes or no. So that's what divergent That's divergent versus convergent thinking. So divergent questions have multiple answers, they encourage deeper thinking, and they help keep your mind flexible. So he says that once or twice every week, to practice this, you need to ask yourself some what if questions. And maybe you journal. I journal. So these might be something that you would write down in your journal. Or maybe there's something that you talk to your spouse or your partner or a friend about on a regular basis. What if I could relive one day? What day would I pick and why? That's a divergent question because it's very open-ended. If there's one historical event that I could go witness, what would it be and why? That's another divergent question. If I could be perfect in any athletic skill, what would I want to be perfect at? Those kinds of questions. And they're kind of fun. If you've ever played, some of the party games that people have now are more about those kinds of questions. So they're meant to help people break the ice when you're at a party and those types of things. But I think that it's really an interesting idea to spend some time thinking about those kinds of questions for yourself and discussing them or writing down in your journal what you think your answers would be. So having those types of open-ended questions, because they're not only fun, but they can generate a whole bunch of responses, not just your responses, but the responses that other people give. And then that can lead you down a whole bunch of other paths. So if somebody said to me, oh, I want to witness the moon landing in person on the moon. I don't know anything about the moon landing. All I know is that I was like a year old when it happened. So I know who the astronauts were. That's about it. But I don't know anything about NASA. My husband always makes fun of me because usually when I say NASA, I say Nassau, which is a different thing than NASA. But I don't know anything about that. So if somebody said that to me, I'd be like, oh, maybe that's something I should learn something more about. So those are some ideas of some other things that you can pursue to keep your mind sharp. His third suggestion is that he says he harnesses the power of awe. Awe, A-W-E, not awe, that's so cute. Awe, like God, awe, that sort of thing. According to researchers at the Greater Good Science Center at the University of California in Berkeley, experiencing awe can stimulate wonder and curiosity. Well, that makes sense. It would obviously stimulate wonder, but it also can stimulate curiosity. And some of the things that people would talk about as experiencing awe would be things like seeing some kind of beautiful, breathtaking, natural place, like a waterfall, or going to a really famous natural landscape and experiencing that, the Grand Canyon. Some people would say holding a baby, or holding a newborn baby especially, is a chance to experience awe. Seeing nature in up close can generate a sense of awe. Those types of things, that sense of awe that we experience when we see things like that or when we have that happen actually generates different, not enzymes, hormones and things like that in our bodies, which enhances our health physically. But it can also enhance our mental well-being and our spiritual well-being, obviously. And those contribute to a more positive attitude. And again, they boost your curiosity. So seeing something like the Grand Canyon for the first time might make you wonder more about it. How did it get that way? To me, I don't know. I thought it was just a big hole in the ground, which it is, but it had to get that way somehow. So that might spur you to, check that out. How did that happen? So those are some other, that awe experience or having those kinds of experiences in your life can help boost your curiosity and keep your mind sharp. So he says that once or twice a month you should go to a place that you don't know, that you've never been before. And it doesn't have to be someplace like, I'm going to go to Paris. That's great if you can afford to go to Paris once a week or every now and then. That's great, but it doesn't have to be something like that. It can be a different park that you've never been to. It can be a different restaurant that you've never been to, a different cuisine that you've never tried. You know, all of those kinds of things you can go and experience, observe what's happening when you're there, and again, think about your thoughts. What kinds of thoughts do they generate? What kinds of experiences do they stir up for you? Maybe there are memories that they stir for you, or maybe there are other things that you decide that you want to learn more about because you went and had Thai food, and you've never had Thai food before. I remember when I was growing up, when I was in high school, I had a very good friend whose mom was Thai, and I had never had any kind of Thai food until I went to my friend's house for dinner one night, and I didn't recognize anything on the table, and I was a little distraught because back in the day, back then I was a very picky eater and was not willing very often to try new things. And my friend Michelle, whose dinner who I was with for dinner, was like, okay, just eat some rice, okay? Just eat some noodles, all right? I promise you, you'll be okay. And I didn't want to say anything because I thought her mom would be upset because my mom would have been upset if you didn't eat dinner at her house. My mom would have been offended. So I was very worried that she was going to be offended, but she wasn't. But it also introduced me to some new tastes that I had never experienced before. And after that, I had a much better appreciation of the idea that different cultures have different foods. And it's not a bad thing to try something new. And now I really kind of like going to different places and trying different food. Doesn't mean I'm going to like everything, but you can try it. The other thing he suggests, and this ties back into our what Laura was talking about in all of those jokes and books and things, he says that he tries to diversify his reading list. And I don't know if y'all are readers or not. If you're not a reader, I think that you can still do this kind of thing. You just have to do it a little bit in a different way. But if you are a reader, reading outside your field of expertise can be one of the most significant things that you do to develop your mind and your curiosity. When we expose ourselves to different ways of thinking through literature or through nonfiction, it doesn't have to be nonfiction, it can be literature, we open up new possibilities for learning. And I think that's very true. If you read literature, like even if you read something from the 1800s or from the 1700s, you're going to learn a whole lot about the way of life that people had in those days, and how different it is than it is now. So you're going to learn something from that. You can also learn something from a nonfiction field. You know, pick up a nonfiction book on race car driving. I have a friend who's like really into Formula One race car driving now. I don't know what happened. I don't know how she got there, but that's like all she talks about now. And I'm always kind of sort of, I'll use a racing term, floored. I'm always kind of floored when she talks about it because I don't know anything about it either. But I keep thinking I should probably read a book so that I understand what Holly's talking about when she talks about Formula One racing. Because I don't want to appear like I'm not interested in it, because I am. If she's interested in it, there must be something to it that's interesting. So I think that those kinds of things, the things that your friends are interested in, things that your friends are reading about, that can be one source of new literature, new information for you to ingest. He says that after 50 years of teaching, his current reading list includes books not on education, which to me would be boring, honestly, but on marketing strategies, paleontology, I'm not even sure what that is. I think it's plants. No? John's...
It's a study of dinosaurs.
Okay, that is dinosaurs. Okay. So,
Ancient life.
ancient life, thank you. Growing tomatoes. British narrowboats. I don't even know what that is. Island ecology. Okay. Long distance running and redwood trees. So, those are the books that he's describing as being like on his nightstand at this time, which I think is really interesting and kind of inspiring. Like, I have no idea what 2 of those things are. Well, actually 3 of those things in that list. Maybe I should read a book about them. Because I think anytime that we are willing to open ourselves up to new information, new knowledge, new wisdom, we're growing and we're becoming a better person. We're becoming usually a lot more empathetic to circumstances that other people may be experiencing or going through. And I think it enhances our spiritual journey, which is why I'm talking about it today. Because you're only going to become a better person, a better spiritual being by understanding and experiencing many different things. So he says to do that, obviously you should visit your public library, pick out at least 3 books on topics that interest you but you don't really know much about, and read at least a chapter a day. So that's a good, I think that's a good way to start. And that could be another jumping off point to even more research or even more things that you want to learn about that you don't know anything about. That's how I started studying the occult, which is what it was called back when I started studying it. The occult. Ooh. It's very scary and dark and mysterious, but the occult. Which I just laugh about it because it was never, I like the word occult. I think it's kind of a cool word, but a lot of people were like, oh my God, you're into occult things? That's, it was scary to a lot of people. But if I had never picked up that first book, I probably wouldn't be standing here today. I know I wouldn't be standing here today because so many of the things that I have read and experienced have been because I've been curious about things and said, I want to learn more about that. So now I think I just need to spread out or, sort of branch out into some other areas like, I don't know, British narrowboats, because I don't know what that is. But if you do, please let me know after the sermon or after the service today and we'll talk about it. So we're gonna just leave you with that idea of stay curious, keep your mind sharp, and you'll probably be just like Dr. Fredericks. Maybe you won't write 100 or so books on different subjects, but you'll know stuff and you'll be growing and changing and becoming a better spiritual person, a better spiritual being. So we're going to do a little meditation now. So I would invite you to get comfortable in your chair. And I would invite you to close your eyes so that you can turn your attention inward, so that you can turn your attention into the rhythm of your breath, breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. And just observe your breath going in and going out. And as you continue to observe your breath going in and going out, just notice how it makes your body feel. Notice that rhythm that you fall into as your breath moves in and out of your body. And as you draw your next breath into your body, imagine drawing in peace. And as you breathe out, imagine releasing tension, stress, fear, anxiety, pain. Breathing in relaxation. And breathing out everything that you don't need to carry with you right now. There's nowhere else that you need to be. There's nothing else that you need to be doing. Just breathing in and breathing out. As you come into a more quiet state within yourself, invite all of your own spirit people, your own loved ones that have passed over to the other side, your own master teachers, your angels. Invite all of those beautiful spirit beings to gather around you. And imagine them standing in a circle around you. Imagine all of those beings sending you peace as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, imagine those beings taking that unneeded energy and channeling it into the ethers, where it can be dispersed and transmuted into something beautiful, inspiring, uplifting, healing. And as you continue breathing in and breathing out along with your spirit people around you, allow yourself to feel the energy of peace and love that they send as you take a breath. And as you breathe out, release and let them take away what you don't need. Continuing to breathe in that healing and that love from Spirit. And breathing out and releasing any negative energy that you still hold. Just allow yourself to experience for a quiet moment all of this loving energy that your spirit people bring to you today. Recognize that your spirit people gather to be around you and send you all of this love, all of this peace, because you are important to them. You matter to them. They want to be with you, to help you, to guide you, to inspire you, and to bring you peace and love. So breathe that energy in, and on your breath out, send them thanks and gratitude and love for their gifts. And so knowing that all of these spirit beings will stay around you, will continue to support you and love you throughout the rest of today, begin to bring your attention back to this time and this place. Beginning to feel your body once more, the chair underneath you. Beginning to feel your fingers and your toes as you move them a little bit, coming fully back into your physical self. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes, wide awake and at peace, and very, very loved.